Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. My name is Chad Medved. This is my show. Welcome back from that break that we took, a little bit of a hiatus. I needed it, a little bit of mental health break. I think it's been almost... Not a month necessarily since I recorded, but it's been a few weeks for sure. I think the last episode that came out was right before Christmas. That was the Odd Pittsburgh Christmas episode. And, took a little break after that. Spent the holidays with my family. It was amazing. I played Santa Claus, as I'm sure most of you heard whenever we were talking about it with Ron Thompson or Santa Claus or John Chalkowski during the Christmas episode. I kind of talked about how I was going to play Santa for my family. Did that, went off without a hitch, made a couple kids cry. Always a good goal to achieve each and every year is make one kid cry, but then you got to make them laugh after. But a really, really great time. Happy about everything. Wife hooked it up, getting some Adam Sandler tickets for Christmas. I got Ari Shaffir tickets for Christmas. Just, my wife she kills it. Just actually got back from a little celebration dinner. Right now, as you're listening, officially, I'll Call You Right Back has been in the works for 5 years. Technically, as you're listening right now, yesterday was the 5-year anniversary of I'll Call You Right Back podcast. And I'm proud of it. But my wife, Arlequino's in McMurray, McMurray, South Hills, she made a reservation at Arlequino's, which is a high-end restaurant. And we actually literally just got back from dinner, which was absolutely amazing. But 5 years of the podcast, it's a pretty big deal to me. I'm very thankful for it, very thankful for all the support that I get and that I have gotten over the years. And, I'm pumped about it. And I mean, there's no end in sight. I got a full schedule coming up. We're back ripping into the episodes, and I'm just, I'm excited to get back on the mic. Like I said, the break is cool, but, shaking the dust off and sitting down with people and getting back to work is definitely the fun thing to do. 2023, it's everyone's year, not just mine, not just yours, but it's everyone's year. I'm not really a resolution guy. I'm not like a, new year, new me guy, because I feel like that's too much pressure. But the only thing that I'm going to try to do this year is I'm going to just try to just drink water and coffee. No pop, no nothing besides that. That's about the only resolution that I have. I'm doing good so far. 10 days in, I'm good. I'm off Diet Coke. I'm off the shit. And, I'm fiending, but I'm off of it right now. But day by day, just taking it day by day. But like I said, just wanted to take a second to say I appreciate everyone who comes back each and every week to listen to me talk to people. Really means a lot. Really gives me a reason to keep this going, really. You know what I mean? I'm sure that if I didn't have cool people to listen to the podcast, it would be easy to let it go and let it kind of dissolve. But because I get this cool audience and people that enjoy what I do, it makes me, makes it worth that much more. So the reason that everyone is here this week I have a fantastic guest for you to kick off 2023. Caitlin Carmela is the owner of Steel City Florals, which is a floral shop or floral company, I guess, technically, in Pittsburgh. She doesn't have a brick and mortar, but she is a floral business. But Caitlin is someone that I came across on Instagram. She was doing like a theme for a holiday. It was a Thanksgiving centerpiece, but I got a Thanksgiving centerpiece for my family, ordered it off of her, wanted to support local, and I've been following her ever since. And honestly, I am a very big fan. I love her flowers. Everything she puts out is gas, and she has like a different eye. I feel like her stuff is very unique compared to a lot of the other wedding type of flowers that I would see. But Caitlin is definitely someone that I have been following for a couple years. I feel like it was long overdue, but I hit her up and I was like, let's do an episode. I talked to her back and forth because she enjoys the podcast, listens to the podcast while she's working, and I don't know why I just never thought to ask her to have her on. So, that was long overdue, but she was a great one to kick off the 2023 year. We get in here, we talk about, first of all, before we even get into the episodes, she brought me two of the most killer flower arrangements ever. Like I said, she is a floral genius, but she brought me this huge arrangement, but she used all these crazy pinks, deep pinks and purples and all of my colors for the podcast. But if my podcast was a theme for floral bouquet, she nailed it completely. And then she hooked it up with another little small one. So I got one for my studio down here. I got one for upstairs, but I just cannot thank her enough for putting that together for me. This is a big ass arrangement she brought me, and it's solid. You can look at it on I'll Call You Right Back on Instagram, or Steel City Florals on Instagram. She got a lot of dope stuff on there. And, we had a great conversation. I have not had anyone on that was in the floral business. I'd never really understood how it worked as far as procurement of materials, how the preparation goes into, preparing for an event. Flowers don't last forever. They're not just, they're living things. So we got a time frame to work with. So Caitlin came in, we talked about everything from how someone, kind of stumbles into becoming a florist because, like many of the people that we have on here, she did not grow up thinking she was going to be working in plants. I don't know if I'm sure that there's people that think that whenever they're young kids, but she has a wild story. She kind of found a way out of her hometown, and then she kind of found herself at a school called the Bidwell Training Center in the North Side. And that is a training center for adults that, kind of just puts you through some different types of career fields, and horticultural sciences, I believe, was one of them. And that was what she kind of focused on. So after going through a myriad of different jobs and situations, she found herself in school trying to figure out what she wanted to do, and ended up working in a floral shop and loving it, and really just kind of gravitating towards that. And, here she is now with her own company. She does weddings. She books out, years in advance. She's just out here killing the game. Having a wife, my wife Antoinette is a wedding makeup artist. So I kind of have like my thumb on that wedding world. I kind of know what's going on in the wedding world and how crazy and chaotic it is. So it was cool to hear from a floral end of, the wedding vendor side, because I hear about all the good and the bad from what my wife does with wedding makeup, but the flowers are a whole different thing. Like you're literally building all these different arrangements. You got to get the flowers, you got to figure out what these customers want. Customers are trying to explain to you what they want in a floral arrangement, and you're kind of hoping that you read these people well enough to create something that is going to decorate literally the most important day of their life. It's kind of some heavy stuff, honestly. So we talk about everything from where she gets her flowers, what happens after the flowers, how a day in her life is, from, booking a wedding to, procuring materials, to how long it takes to put stuff together, to, day of work, delivery, all the stuff that is the ins and outs of the floral business. And it was very interesting. Caitlin had a wild story, and it's cool that she ended up being a floral designer, because she fucking kills it, to be honest. I have to say it. She fucking kills it. Steel City Florals on Instagram. You could check her out. Absolutely amazing work. She's getting booked up quick. Hit her up if you're looking for some florals for your wedding. She usually focuses her time in weddings, but I'm sure if you DM her, you give her some time, she will make some stuff happen for you if you are looking for just nice flowers in general. I do want to mention that some of the seasons that come up, she does specials, and Valentine's Day is coming up currently. We're about a month out. We're about a month and a day or two out, and she does these specials, and this year is leather and feathers, and it's basically just an arrangement that is themed. So if you're interested in getting an arrangement for Valentine's Day for that special someone, do not wait till the last minute. Hit her up at Steel City Florals and put your order in now, and just know that it's done. You don't have to worry about it. You'll have it all done. You don't have to worry. You don't have to go and try to figure shit out the day of, because we all know that's the worst. But I will quit talking your ear off. Without further ado, episode 228 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Caitlin Carmela of Steel City Florals.
I gotta use the telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast. Yeah, I mean, if you're ready to go, I'm ready to go.
I'm ready.
I'm excited. This is the first one of the new year.
Well, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
The first one of the new year.
2023.
And I think it's been, I don't know, I haven't done one in a month, I think. I took a little time off. I needed to.
We all deserve a little time off. I also got some time off after the holidays.
Yeah, I mean, like you just kind of came out of peak season.
Yes, surprisingly, I had weddings from like the beginning of September all the way up until literally my last one was New Year's Eve. So,
oh yeah, all the way till the end.
yeah, and it was, I learned my lesson in not booking so much, because I literally had a wedding, if not two weddings, every single weekend.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't have a break for like 3 months. So I finally got like a 2-3 week break now, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, enjoying it. It's like my wife does the wedding makeup, and she is the same thing. It's just she 1 year she'll take on a bunch of weddings, and then next year she's like, I'm not doing this again.
Yep.
And every year it's like, I don't know, there's ebb and flow to it, I guess.
It literally is like, yeah, if you decide to not take on a lot of weddings, you like regret not taking on
you feel like you're missing
Yeah.
out on it all.
Exactly. And then when you do take on, you're just like,
Jesus,
swamped.
this is busy. Yeah.
It's unreal.
Are you now, I mean, your shop is basically, I mean, your business, Steel City Florals, is that mainly weddings?
Yes. So I do mainly weddings and special events, things that I can plan out in advance.
Yeah.
I have thought about doing, getting into other branches of the floral industry, but really the weddings and events seem to kind of be they're most popular.
Yeah.
That's what I get my most inquiries about. But also I seem to have like a lot more creative freedom with the weddings rather than if I were doing, traditional floral work.
Yeah, where people can just come in and buy a bouquet.
Right,
Things like
exactly.
that.
Yes.
I mean, you do very well with that, because you brought me two beautiful arrangements. Can't thank you enough for those.
Oh, I had fun making them. And the guys down at the flower market gave me all the flowers for free. So
Really?
that was really nice too.
That's amazing. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had anyone that strictly was like florals on. I've had gardeners on, had farmers on, but it's been interesting because like I'm a big fan of flowers. Never cared about them like, never cared about them in a deeper fashion until up to recent times. But growing up, I always liked them. I was always someone who bought my girlfriend's flowers. I always liked that whole like tradition, my
Right.
mom, everything like that. Mm-hmm. When do flowers come into your life?
Well, I definitely did not expect it to be like my full-blown career.
This wasn't something you thought of as a kid?
No, not at all. I didn't even know it was an option, to be honest. Like growing up, I really wasn't someone who was like encouraged to like explore my options and you can be whatever you want to be. Like it just really wasn't something I thought about. But I do remember as a child that flowers were always kind of sort of present in my life, whether it be gardening with my nanny.
Yeah.
So I did some of that. She taught me how to can and preserve foods.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of nice. She did sewing too, so she had some like artistic skill with her. And also, like, I would always be walking around the neighborhood with my neighborhood friends, and we would go and pick flowers and make little bouquets and stuff, and just do stuff for fun that, you know, I didn't really think twice about.
That's interesting. Yeah. It was just like random, and then, you know, all these years later, it kind of comes full circle.
Right. And like, I always knew that I wanted to do something with art because I was always an artistic person growing up, and I was painting and, you know, I'd draw and I'd always try to get into something different. I did sculpting for a little bit. And really, like, once I found flowers, I felt like I found my medium.
Yeah.
So, you know, I knew I wanted to do something artistic with my career, but I just didn't have it like pinned down.
That's what your plan was in school, like whenever, you know, you're starting to become an adult and trying to figure out what you're going to do?
A little bit. So when I was going to graduate high school, I tried to, I wanted to go to a school in Pittsburgh.
You're from here?
I am, but I'm a little bit south of the city. So I'm from like the Mon Valley area, if you know.
What part?
Charleroi.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Octane?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'm very hip to Charleroi.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I was a big Octane person.
My dad's best friend used to own a water supply company that was in the old Octane like building.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a small world.
I know. Very
Were you
weird.
a shows person?
Every once in a while I would go to shows. It was a little bit older. My mom wouldn't let me go down to Octane.
Your mother was probably making the right move.
I know, but I really wish I had that like core memory with me because a lot of people talk about it.
Oh,
so.
yeah. Definitely a staple in time.
So
but Mon Valley area?
Yeah, Mon Valley area. So I really just wanted to get out of the Mon Valley area, even if that was going 40 minutes to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So I was like begging my parents to send me to a college in Pittsburgh. And they like were not having it. They wanted me to go to Cal U, which was, you know,
everyone's 13th grade.
Exactly. And
what did they want you to do?
They did not know.
Yeah. Just wanted you something more secure.
Right. They both had, like, my dad worked for, like, a union. My mom worked for an office, and they, you know.
Secure jobs.
Exactly.
Like, you know, you're going to live a secure life, get a constant paycheck. You don't have to worry about things.
Exactly.
And with any good parent would want their kids to do. Like, my parents, the exact same way. You know, go to school, get a good job, and then you could worry about all the other shit you want to do.
And I understand. Like, I totally get where they were coming from, and here I am. I'm like, I want to do something artistic. And they're probably, like, shaking their heads.
Yeah.
But, you know, I finally convinced them. I convinced them that I got to go to Chatham University through an ROTC program through Pitt.
Wow.
So it wasn't necessarily something that I wanted to do. Like, I did not want to be in the armed forces.
Yeah.
But that was kind of my gateway to getting into a little bit more expensive college, in saying like, hey, if I work really hard at this ROTC, you know, they pay for college, you know, after whatever, how many years.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like my in. And of course, like after the first month, I was like, this is
this is not for me.
This is not for me. It was an experience. Like, I got up at like 5 every morning and would go to Pitt to work out, and yeah, it just was not.
That was nothing that like was ever in your mind before. You were just like, I'm going to try this out.
I mean, my uncle was
Okay.
in the Air Force. I was like, maybe I'll do this.
Yeah.
And again, like, all my parents wanted was something secure. So I thought, like, hey, if I can do this, and I know, like, with the Army or Air Force or whatever, if you only commit a certain amount of time, then you get out and you
God forbid you become an artist, but you can go across front lines and, you know,
and like fight.
Risk your lives.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, God bless anyone who does it, but, you know, it's crazy to think about that.
Yeah, it is. And again, like,
but
you know,
parents, that's parents.
Right.
You know, they just want their kids to be okay in life and not have to live in hard times.
Right.
But we also live in this time now where it's like completely different than when our parents grew up.
Yes.
You know, people, you know, little kids have businesses on Instagram.
Right.
Can I ask how old you are?
Oh, I am 26.
Okay.
Yes.
So, I mean, like, yeah, it's like we live in a different time. It's wild.
Yes. And I started the business at 22.
Yeah. So you've already been doing it for a while.
Right. Absolutely.
Now, the ROTC stuff, like that kind of, dissolves pretty quickly.
Right. It was after like the first month or two, I was like, this is not... The biggest problem was not like me going and having to do the physical activity. It was getting there because the buses didn't run that early. So I had to try to figure out a way to get from Chatham to Pitt.
Yeah.
And so I'd have like the Chatham campus police driving me to like ROTC practice at 5 a.m. And they really didn't like me because of that.
Yeah.
So, I quit that and... I told my parents, like, I'm just going to finish this semester and, do my classes that I'm doing.
What was your focus? Like, was
public relations.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right.
I didn't know if, like, ROTC was, like, a major to, like, go
No, that
through.
was, like, kind of like an additional thing that you can, because Pitt was the only one that had the program. So, majored in public relations, international relations.
Like, what was your thoughts of what you were going to do with that?
To be honest, maybe just doing, like, press for... the base that I'm on or something, I honestly didn't know. I knew that I liked marketing and media, and that kind of, fell in to those lines
Umbrella,
a little bit.
yeah.
You're right. So I was just like, whatever is not going to put me on the front line.
Yeah. Like, you're 17, kid, figure it out.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe I can, if I choose this, I'll be like in a little office or something.
Yeah. It's definitely wild to think about that.
Yeah.
And I mean, PR, me and Antoinette think about like, like we should have just went for business, but like, she went to school for Spanish. So
cool.
But she works in something completely different. So it's
Right.
like she doesn't even use her major.
Right.
And I use mine, but I don't know. It's just weird to like kind of see the trajectory of it all.
Right. And I feel like if I would have stayed on that path, I would have never gotten to do some of the things, that I've done. And just like, I would never have gotten to live this cool life that I lived.
I mean, and at this time where you're in college, like you weren't working with flowers at all?
No, not at all.
Are you like someone who was like a gardener? Did you garden? Did you keep a garden?
I gardened with my parents, like, my nanny, like I said, growing up, my parents had a garden that I would, keep in the summer sometimes.
But it wasn't something that you did like at your...
No.
Oh, okay,
It was not something that I was just like, it was not my thing.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting to hear.
Right.
Because like what, you're like 18, 19 at this time?
Right. And like I said, art was my thing. So like
Yeah.
I would draw a lot and, I draw like botanical stuff. So
Yeah.
it was kind of there,
Kind
but
of fell into it all.
Yeah.
But not working with flowers.
no, not at all.
Well, how does that come into play?
Okay, so from the whole Chatham ROTC adventure, I ended up going back home after the first semester of college, and I went to CCAC for a semester.
Amen.
And that was, again, just like my parents wanted me to be doing something.
100%.
Just took like general classes, basically. Hated it. I like would fall asleep in my car and miss my classes. Like I'd have like a big like 2-hour gap between my my classes and fall asleep. And
I did the exact same thing. Which campus did you go to?
South.
Oh yeah, I slept in the same parking lot. Probably same car next to you.
Yeah, probably. It was when Century 3 Mall was still open, so I would go like walk around there every once in a while. It was like really creepy at the time.
Go to the
still,
4
though.
stores.
Right.
Spencer's was open.
Yes.
The merry-go-round.
Right.
And like Old Navy or something maybe, and that
Yes.
Mexican spot down at the bottom, and you're like, that's
the coat
it.
shop.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like the leather shop. It's like, how are you still making money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Century. I miss Century 3.
I know. I mean, I just did the Christmas episode, and as I was like researching that, this whole like album of Christmas time during Century 3 or Christmas time at Century 3, like back in like the late 90s, and I'm like,
Oh, I've definitely
holy
seen
shit!
that.
Like it's just like a nostalgia boost, just like serotonin shot in my heart.
Absolutely. Oh, I had so many good memories of Sensory 3. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of hours killed there for sure.
Absolutely. So, I went there when I wasn't sleeping in my car at CCAC, but, tried that for a semester. Wasn't my thing.
PR still?
It was just kind of
Like
general studies.
classes,
So I was
yeah.
just like, I'm just going to get some classes under my belt, whatever.
What kind of jobs do you have at this time?
I was serving. So
Okay.
I was waitressing at Eaton Park.
Nice.
I was their midnight server.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was...
I bet that was interesting.
It was in Monongahela too, so there weren't many places besides Eaton Park.
The one right in Monongahela, like
Right.
downtown. Oh,
Yes.
wow. A lot of interesting people there. Been there before for sure.
It was a very interesting job. There were some pretty crazy folks that got to come in, and I got to know a lot of like the old guys that would come in the morning for their coffee and stuff. It was cool, but it was hard going to class and then like working at midnight
Yeah,
or like working
absolutely.
at midnight and then going to class basically. But so that's what I was doing. And I really liked that that was fine for me at the time. I was making good money serving, you know, for being, a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
And then I heard from a friend about a school in Pittsburgh called Bidwell Training Center.
Bidwell
And
Training Center. Where's that at?
it's in the North Shore.
Okay.
No one ever knows about it.
I don't think I've ever heard about that.
It's crazy that no one knows about it because it's a wonderful place. So Bidwell Training Center is an adult training center in the North Shore, and it was founded by Bill Strickland. He is like a longtime North Shore resident, grew up there.
Okay.
And he created the school basically as a way to train adults to get them into the workforce. So this was back when there were more tradesy types of jobs that were in high demand in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So what he was doing was getting, these people in trained and into the job force, particularly, poorer people of the Manchester area.
Lower income.
Right, exactly.
Is this kind of like something of like a Steel City, like vocational type of school, or?
No, it's different than that. So the greatest thing about it is it's completely free to everyone that goes there. So, I hear about this school. I'm like, I hear that it's free, and I'm like thinking, nothing's free. Scam.
Yeah.
What is it? So I go there. I look at the informational session. I see their different classes that they have. They had culinary arts, they had chem tech, a bunch of different medical programs, and they had horticulture technology. And again, I had never even given a second thought to having a career with plants or flowers or nature, anything like that, just because I hadn't seen other people, do that.
Yeah, didn't know that was an option.
Right. So saw horticulture technology, and I was like, let's try that. And again, we, took a tour of the facilities. There were a bunch of greenhouses there.
How long has this place been there?
It's been, they just celebrated their 50th anniversary.
Oh, it's been there for a while.
Oh, right. Yes, definitely.
Wow, I've never heard of this. I got to look it up.
Yeah.
And they just have like classes and stuff that you could attend?
Right. And so the biggest thing, there's a big time commitment with it. So it's kind of like you're going back to like grade school again.
Yeah.
So the hours were 8 to 3, Monday through Friday, had to be there every day. And it was like very, very strict on attendance.
Yeah.
If you like got below, I think it was like 10 or 18% attendance, you were kicked out of the program.
Yeah, which makes sense. If it's free, if it's a free program, they don't want you
They need
dicking
to
around.
have, exactly, some sort of stricter rules in
Accountability.
place. Exactly. Yeah, so, heard about this, again, thinking it's like, maybe a scam, maybe not. Figured it's worth at least checking out.
Yeah.
So I did, checked it out. It looked legit. And during the informational session, of course, they went over, it's funded by donations and grants and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, well, let's try it. It was an 8-month program. So it was like 8 months of my life. I just been going to CCAC, so might as well.
8 months, Monday through Friday, 8 to 3.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It's something I can do. So I was like, let's do it. And I got into the next class, which started, at the end of summer. And Bidwell really opened my eyes to all the different careers that I could possibly go into in the horticulture industry or plant industry. So, they don't specifically focus on one thing. They try to branch you out into different things just so you can see all of the options that you have.
Yeah, it's wild. I wish that that these were things that were available whenever I was in school. I'm 32. I feel like there was no options of anything. I was still strictly, my parents were the same as yours. It's like, get a secure job. But it was also the time in school where it was like, you either need to be an engineer, a doctor, or a lawyer, or you're a failure. There was not a lot of trade talk, but, I found out like after all this, just probably like 2 years ago, people go to school to like learn how to tend golf courses.
Right.
And I'm like, God damn it. Like,
yeah,
I love waking up early. I want to cut the grass. Like, and I'm like, that ship sailed, but I didn't even know that was a possibility.
it is crazy. And what is so cool too is like when, we would go every week to somewhere different that we could get a job in the city. So we would go
no way.
and either just go and tour and kind of see what a day to day, would be like there. Or we would go and sometimes like help out if it was like at a place that, would have volunteers and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to like actually be able to see what I would be doing.
Yeah. Like the real, instead of just being like, oh, you could do this, you're
Right.
actually getting to see what it is.
And it's a big like or a connecting thing too. You get to market yourself to these people.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
One day gonna hopefully hire you.
Wow.
So
That's pretty awesome that they do that.
it was really cool. And again, like it's so insane to me that still to this day it's not a popular or
utilized
more
place.
heard of thing.
Now, how many people were in your class, like the horticulture class?
We started with 20, and like I said, there was really strict rules with attendance. So I think we ended with 13.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I would have thought it would be like, I thought you were going to say like 8 or 9 saved, or like survived it.
Well, what's
I said
nice
survived it.
is it feels like you survived something.
That's cool though. Like I like that it's a small class. I think that's why I didn't do well at Slippery Rock. Like I originally went for elementary ed and special ed, but it's like I'm not good at like the dropping a bucket where you're in like a lecture type of class.
Me
either.
either.
I want to be like hands on. 10, 15 people.
Exactly.
And like that's what it needs to be.
Yep.
So were the classes kind of like with the classes that you taught that we went to? Like was
Yes.
it small hands on like that?
Very much so. So I would say like about 50% of the time I spent there was doing like labs and stuff like that,
Oh, that's
hands-on
awesome.
stuff. And then, the other 50% we were in the classroom still, but like even in the classroom we were learning, hands-on stuff, doing like really cool, interesting things. Like I was excited to
Yeah.
go to school for the first time ever.
Yeah. Now, it gets pretty deep, I assume, like not just, floral arrangements, but like
Right.
the whole spectrum of it all.
Yes, in talking about golf courses, we learned about like turf management.
Wow.
We learned, of course, floral design. We learned landscape design. Something that really stuck with me, we learned taxonomy. So that's like the naming of plants, identification of plants.
Oh, wow.
That's like my favorite.
Oh, now that you say that, I remember you saying that like the foraging, you like to go out and forage and
Yes.
things like that. That's awesome.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So we learned really like every single aspect that we possibly could in that horticulture industry.
Yeah.
Just to see, everything that was out there.
And is there like homework and tests, like a regular
Yes.
school? Ah, cool.
Yep. And again, like it was things that I was excited to do though. So
Yeah.
it didn't feel like it was homework to me.
That's awesome though.
Yeah. It was the first time I like excelled in anything. I was on their like honors thing.
Yeah.
I was really excited to be there.
Yeah, it's amazing what it could be once you want to do things. Like
Mm-hmm.
I failed out of Slippery Rock the first time and I just didn't really care. But then
Right.
I went to school for, what I do now. And it's like, it was easy to do good then whenever you like want to pay attention and want to be involved with it.
Exactly.
Something that piques your interest.
Yes. And I had no idea at 18, what exactly I wanted to do. And I wish I would just, took a little bit more time and, kind of figured out my interests. But, I eventually fell into it. So, I went to Bidwell. I completed the 8-month program. We did an internship. And then from there, I got a job at a floral, just like a regular floral shop.
Is that what you gravitated towards, was like floral arrangements?
At first, no, because we would often do floral designs for like the events that they would have on campus. And so my director was the one picking the florals out, and he was just more like, again, like a traditional style floral designer. And so it was very hard for me to design with flowers that he had chosen, and it just like was not vibing with me.
It didn't speak to you because the ones that I'm looking at now are pretty wild.
Thank you.
Yeah, you like to, get a little wild with what you do.
I love doing fun, different, creative things. Yeah, absolutely. So it was hard to design with like the lilies and the baby's breath and the carnations. And so I didn't think really floral design was going to be my thing. I really was focusing towards education because I learned all this amazing stuff about plants, and I just wanted to tell everyone about it.
Yeah.
So education really was like the big thing that I was kind of going for at first. So my internship or my externship is what they called it at Bidwell.
That was at Bidwell?
Right. Yes, I did that through Bidwell.
What's an externship there consist of?
It's just basically an internship, but you're
working there though, and like you kind of just working at the school and doing what they need to do there? So
no, you're not working at the school. You're going to a place like one of the places that we went on the field trips at in the industry to kind of like, again, it's like an internship.
Yeah, you're like shadowing these people.
Right, getting on your resume and stuff
that makes sense.
So I went to a horticultural therapist in Moon Township.
Horticultural therapist?
Yes.
What is that?
It's basically, if you ever heard like an art therapist, art therapy with like flowers instead.
I mean, you have to elaborate, please, because I don't think I have.
Okay, so basically what we would do, the big things that we would do are we would go to like personal care facilities, nursing homes, stuff like that, and work with the patients there.
Yeah.
So we would do, maybe a little flower arrangement. Sometimes it would literally just be them playing in the dirt just to like,
oh yeah. I get what you're saying now. Yeah, right. Like sensory, like things like that.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So it was doing that. We worked with a school down in the Manchester area with special needs kids. We would go there once or twice a week after they got off of school and go and teach them gardening and do some stuff like that.
That's cool.
So it was really cool. I got to, again, I did my externship there, and then I ended up getting like a part-time job through that organization after my externship. So that was cool. And so I needed another part-time job to kind of balance that off, and that's when I got the other part-time job at the flower shop that I had mentioned.
Yeah. And at that point, you're working at the flower shop, just creating arrangements. And that was more like an everyday brick and mortar where people could walk in and just buy bouquets and stuff.
Well, what was nice was she kind of did every aspect of the floral industry. So she would do, the walk-in day of flowers. She also did funeral work. She also did the weddings and events.
So you got to see a little bit of everything.
Right, exactly. And I got to see, what I liked and what I didn't like.
Oh, that's interesting. How long were you there?
I was there for about 2 years. Yeah, so I got the job, again, it was as part-time worker, and really I just started by being the delivery person. I started on Mother's Day, actually, and so I spent the entire Mother's Day just delivering flowers.
I bet that was probably a beast to do.
Yeah, it was fun, actually. It was kind of interesting. So, I was washing the buckets, delivering the flowers. Finally got to like green vases. I was real excited about that. And then, finally she started letting me do some arrangements. Like if she had a wedding, we would all kind of like, if they had centerpieces, we would all pick a centerpiece and do it together, whatever. And just really started to kind of get into designing that way.
Yeah.
And she was a kind of a more traditional florist, but she also, with the weddings and events, did kind of a little bit more fun work, worked with funner color palettes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was what I, of course, always gravitated towards, was the weddings and events.
That makes sense then. I was going to ask, like, one of the things was, you talked about how this is mainly weddings was your focus, but like, I'm sure that another avenue is funeral work. Is that something that you just like, you're not a fan of the flower choices that are necessarily used? Is that like, talk to me about that a little bit.
There's a lot around funeral work that I just don't really enjoy. One is like the quickness of it. So it's like, with weddings and events, I could plan stuff out.
Oh yeah, like months in advance where it's like, boom, someone died.
Right. And I don't have a floral shop. I have a home studio.
Yeah.
So I don't have flowers just like on hand all the time.
Yeah.
So, I couldn't just make an arrangement for a funeral here and there. I'd have to go. It just logistically doesn't work that well for me.
I guess that makes a lot of sense.
I have done funeral work, for close friends and stuff like that if they ask. But definitely.
But for your situation, it's more conducive for you to be able to like plan out, kind of figure everything out.
Yes.
And I guess that's the perfect way to jump into this world of being a florist. Is people could hire you for your days, what you got to do, what you got to execute.
Exactly.
You can buy what you need to. Excuse me, you don't have to have a lot of stuff laying around.
Right.
That's interesting to think about that.
So yeah, that was one thing. Another thing, like you said, the flower choices, just you don't get to really get creative with funeral work.
Yeah.
So that didn't interest me. And when I did funeral work for the florist that I had worked for, I did not know that you had to like go into the place where the people are laying
and set it up
and like set it up. Right. And so like,
that's a whole different thing to like have to deal with.
Right. I'm like standing over someone's great aunt and putting this floral arrangement like on top of the casket.
I forgot about that.
And
like,
I'm
there's like flowers on caskets still.
Right. And it just was not my vibe.
Yeah,
at
not
all.
something you wanted to do every day.
No.
And that's understandable. But I knew that, whenever I think of being a florist, I think of wedding flowers and I think of funerals.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that, there's the everyday, what did you call the day of flowers where you could walk in and,
right, like
purchase
birthdays
those.
and anniversaries.
Yeah, all that. But
yeah.
even for what you're doing with a home studio, it's really not conducive for what you do.
No. And, what's nice is I have a yard, so I will grow some of my own flowers.
Yeah.
So in the summer, it is a little bit easier for me to do like one arrangement here and there if someone inquires or like, say I have a wedding and I'm already going to get flowers. Sometimes it just works out, but I definitely don't like market.
Yeah.
That I do day of flowers.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, what's like a day of for a wedding job? Like talk to me from like someone booking you to you, your prep work to the day of work of that.
Okay, so usually, or most often, couples will reach out at least a year in advance.
Yeah,
it honestly has been a little bit. Almost 2 years in advance now.
Yeah, Antoinette's getting weird. Like, she's like, this is like 2024.
Right. Yeah, I have a couple people booked for 2024 already. It's insane.
COVID really like threw a wrench in the game.
COVID changed a lot of things with the flower industry and the wedding industry in general.
Yeah, wedding in general. It's pretty wild, And I only get a slight glimpse of it all, but from what I gather, it kind of was rewritten a little bit, the book.
It really was. And I'm very thankful because I started my business in 2018,
yeah.
So right before the pandemic. So I was very thankful to have been able to make it through it with my business. And, a lot of weddings 2020 were almost all of them were postponed. I probably only had like 2 weddings that summer. So I'm hoping now that I'm finally caught up with all the COVID weddings.
Yeah, all the reschedules and everything.
Exactly. But honestly, it's just been crazy. The inquiries. I can't, I'm not booking for 2025 or anything like that, but sometimes people will reach out.
Yeah, but it's like, what am I even going to be doing in 2 years?
Right. You can't, you can't plan your life that far in advance. You just never know.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to think about that. So for you to, have a part-time job at that other floral shop to want to kind of, migrate into your own business, how do you, like, at what point of you working at that other floral shop are you like, I think I could do this? Like, did it come naturally to you?
I didn't think it was going to be a thing. Like it wasn't, I didn't think that I was going to start a floral business. I knew I liked working with flowers. I knew I liked doing weddings and events. And, I had that part-time job. And there was a point in my life that I was living with an abusive ex-boyfriend. And I needed to get out of that situation. So having a part-time job just like wasn't monetarily doing it for me.
Yeah, you weren't able to get out.
Right. So I had to shift career paths for a little bit, and I got an office job.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I left, I left the nonprofit, I left the flower shop, and I got a receptionist job in Cranberry.
Yeah.
And it was like the typical 9-to-5 office job. I love The Office, so it was kind of interesting. Actually, kind of getting to live that world for a little bit,
and all those jokes, and being able to pick up on the jokes.
It's so funny how much people fall into like characters.
Oh yeah.
It's just, it was...
Well, that's why that show is so good, because those are really things that are just happening.
Right. They just play the characters
cleaning the
so
microwave,
well.
Using just dumb stuff like that. It's just weird.
When I was a receptionist there, he was the CEO, because it was a small company. It was based out of Germany, so this was just like the only branch they had in the United States.
Yeah.
So the CEO was like always in house. So one day he was printing some stuff off at the copier, and just to make some small talk, be nice to the CEO, I was like, oh, what are you doing? Because it looked like pictures that he was printing off, and he like was disgusted, and he was like, look at these pictures. This truck, because he biked to work every morning.
Oh, wow.
He was like, this truck drove past me and blew all these exhaust fumes.
Oh my God, I know what you're talking about.
So I'm going to report him to the EPA. And I was like, I was just trying to be nice again, get in good with the boss. And he was like, will you do that for me? Will you? So I ended up having to be the one to file a report to the EPA about this like coal truck that went past him in Cranberry. I'm not sure whatever happened with that, but
that guy's still blowing smoke, rolling coal.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
So you left that office job and you decided to go back to the flowers, though?
Well, I worked at the office job for about 2 to 3 years. I actually like got promoted there, and it was almost ending up being like a career thing.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, a friend reached out to me and was like, hey, I remember you did florals. Would you want to do flowers for my wedding in June? And so I was like, I guess so. I've never done this, but I'll definitely, I'll try. And so I reached out to someone that I had worked with when I was at the flower place.
Yeah. Like
just another coworker that had left. And I was like, hey, my friend reached out and, wants me to do flowers for her wedding. Would you maybe want to help me out with this? Like, I felt better having another person help me out with it. Her name was Amy. So me and Amy were like, okay, we're going to do this first wedding. And at the time, this was like maybe early fall, and the wedding was going to be in June of next year.
Okay. Yeah. So you had some time.
Right. So I'm working this office job. Things with that relationship that I was trying to get out of were getting really bad. And, through the winter, I was finally able to leave him. I was able to get my own place. And the last thing on my mind was someone's wedding.
Yeah.
So it was then like February or so. She reached out again and was like, hey, you still want to do the flowers for my wedding? And at this point, I lived in like a little apartment. Yeah. I was like, I had just gone through this whole traumatic
chaotic
thing.
Yeah.
I was not thinking about it. But I'm just like the type of person that does not want to let someone down. So I was like, yes, I'll do it. So I reached back out to Amy again. I was like, hey, I know you have like a house with a basement. Is it possible, do you still want to do this wedding with me? Can we, talk about the logistics of it and everything? So we were like, we just decided to take it on.
Yeah. How big was this wedding?
It was like a pretty big wedding, to be
wow.
honest. Yeah. And again, like the weddings that I did with the florist before, they were bigger weddings too. They were like the scale that I'm doing now.
Yeah, so you kind of had like an experience of
Right.
what to expect.
Yes, and if I had not worked for the florist and like learned, you know, the
dynamics of everything, you'd probably
yes,
sink or swim right there.
exactly.
Well, now for you to, you know, kind of have your own, you know, just your own business and not really have like the backstock of things, you know, how does one procure enough flowers to do, you know, 20 table, 30 table wedding, you know, something like that, and all the flowers that go along with it?
So for this first wedding, the bride provided a lot of stuff. So that was really nice.
Oh,
so
wow.
she provided, I think like her family or the groom's family made like these little wooden boxes. And then she bought a bunch of like different bottles and stuff from IKEA.
Oh, wow. So you had stuff to be able to use.
Right. So she got a lot of like the actual hard goods stuff. I remember one of her family members like made the arch that they were going to get married. So I just really had to come in with the flowers.
Yeah.
So, you know, at that point, I didn't have like a tax ID. I couldn't go to like a wholesale florist.
Yeah.
So we just bought our flowers like off Sam's Club.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they sell like bulk flowers, and we were like, okay, this works.
Now, how do you know, like, I guess that answered my own question is like, you already had this previous experience with this previous shop. So you probably had a good idea of how many flowers, of what you would need, what to do to be able to accomplish this wedding.
Right. I try, and still honestly, even to this day, I'll over order some greens and stuff like that. Like it really is hard to kind of try and get like an exact amount.
Yeah.
But yes, so seeing previous weddings and stuff, I had a little bit of an idea. And the thing that was tough with Sam's Club too is like I couldn't just get, you know, where I would go to the wholesaler now, I could just get one pack of roses. With Sam's Club, you had to order like 150 roses. You couldn't just, you know, get one pack of this, one pack of that.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a challenge, having to order in like mass quantities like that.
Yeah, like how do you approach like your customers as far as what someone wants? You know, I ask Antoinette because she does wedding makeup. I'm like, you know, this is like, you know, you're doing the makeup of a bride. Like this is their day that they think of whenever. And I mean, whoever thinks of whenever. It's like, how do you understand what someone wants? Because usually people, not usually, but sometimes people are not always the best at communicating what they want.
Right. Yeah. Well, through my like onboarding process with a client, I have my first questionnaire talks about like, you know, when is the wedding, and just like logistical stuff like that. And then my next questionnaire that I send them, like if I'm interested or if I have the date available, I will send them a questionnaire that asks about like their color scheme, the vibe that they're going for. I'll even give them like, I think in my questionnaire, it even has like boxes that you can check off with like specific words. So like whimsical or classic or, you know, stuff like that for the people who, again, like don't really know what they want. They can kind of, you know, it's easier to click little
I guess you have a lot of that too. It's like people that don't really know what they want.
Definitely.
And it's like, how the hell how are you supposed to figure out what people want whenever they can't communicate it?
Right. And, you know, a lot of that has to do with like even just, you know, when I just talk to someone, I kind of get a glimpse of their personality and who they are.
Yeah.
They filled out the questionnaire. A lot of, you know, I think about the venue that they're going to be at, the time of year that it's going to be. You know, there's a lot of different things that I can think about. And I also have them, you know, upload inspiration photos so I can.
Okay, that makes sense.
I can see some things that, you know, they like.
Examples.
That they've seen on Pinterest and stuff.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. Now, what about like, you know, do you have people that ever request flowers that are like, you know, super difficult to get?
Sometimes I really try to stay away from that. I always say, that I design off of color palette rather than like flower choices.
The exact flower, yeah.
Right.
That way you have some options.
Exactly. Because, you know, before the pandemic, it maybe wasn't as bad, but like since after the pandemic, it's been so hard to get certain flowers, and you just like never know
if they're going to be there, so you can't count on them.
Exactly.
Oh, that's interesting to think about.
It's so weird too, because like last June there was a crazy shortage on white roses, and that's something that the flower market always has.
Why is it? Like, what are the reasonings behind these?
There will be different things. Like a lot of the flowers that I get at my wholesaler, they come from South America, Ecuador, and there's like a lot of times strikes and protests in Ecuador.
That makes sense.
So they just like can't get on the farm to get the flowers, or even just like hurricane season, we get a lot of our greenery from Florida. So there was like a big time this fall where we couldn't get like a certain greenery because of the hurricane coming through. So, I couldn't anticipate that a hurricane was going to come.
Yeah.
So again, that's why I really try not to promise specific things. Every once in a while, of course, a bride will be like, a peony was special to my grandmother. So I really like, and I try my hardest to, of course,
obviously
get,
listen, you ain't getting it.
But again, like I really do try to stress to my clients that like, I base more of my designs off of a color palette.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about that, and to, kind of not necessarily deflect, but adjust to what people's expectations are.
Right.
Because everyone's expectations are definitely crazy.
Right, because they're seeing all these things on Pinterest, and then they're
astronomical, budgets that people have, and you're like, well, why doesn't it look like this? And you're like, I only have so much willpower and time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Whenever you said your wholesalers, like, where do you buy flowers from? Like, where do floral places buy flowers from?
Well, we're lucky because in Pittsburgh we have BW down the Strip District, and we also have Pennock down the Strip District, and both of those places are wholesale floral markets.
But I couldn't walk in there and buy flowers?
I mean, if you have a tax ID...
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's
not a regular person can walk on the street, and right, exactly.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
never knew that was there.
Yeah, it's nice. They're kind of like, tucked back, hidden. You'd never know they were there.
Are they like a big company?
No, not really. I know that Pennock I don't really go to too much. BW is the one that I go to all the time. They're like a family-owned business. They've been in Pittsburgh for a while, so I really love going there to support, a family-owned business in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's cool.
But again, it's so nice. Just right down the Strip District, I can go and get my flowers, and it's really cool. It's basically like a huge refrigerator that just has flowers like lining the walls. It's a little overwhelming sometimes, and it's very fun to go shopping.
Yeah, that sounds like a cool place. Now, for you to prepare for a wedding, like people like they'll tell you, I need this many centerpieces, things like that. Do you come up with like designs and like, kind of send these designs to people to get okayed? Or is there people that are just like, trusting you, like letting go, like let go, let God, let it happen?
Yes, that's pretty much it. Honestly, I've been so lucky with the clients that I've gotten, where a lot of them are very hands off, and they just kind of like, they've seen my work. They, a lot of people find me through Instagram or through some sort of social media. So of course I have my flowers plastered all over all of those. So they, have some sort of expectation of what my work is like.
Yeah.
And again, they'll send me the inspiration photos that I can always take into account, but really, I like to work with people who give me that creative freedom.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you do a good job at vetting. If you got a crazy person, it's probably easy to tell. It's always interesting to hear Antoinette like getting messages, and you're like, definitely can't accept this one right here. Yep. And it's like, yeah, I'm sure everyone has to understand that that's a reality of the business.
Right.
There's definitely crazy people.
Yes.
Especially in this wedding industry. Everyone's day is the most important day of the world.
Absolutely.
And it's not like you don't have a full book. And I would never know the pains of these if I didn't have a wife that's like, knee deep in all this stuff. So I don't know. I feel like it's always interesting to hear about that part, because, people that have no insight on this, it's just, this is my wedding. This is the day I've been waiting my entire life for it. It's like, yeah, I got one tomorrow too. It's the same thing. So I'm sure it's always just like a big juggling act trying to get everything handled.
Definitely. And, of course I always keep that into account that, this is these people's big day, special day. Like, I always have that anxiety in the back, like hopefully nothing goes wrong. Of course there's been things that have gone wrong.
Oh, I'm sure.
But, yeah, it definitely is nerve-wracking knowing that, those people were
counting on you.
Yeah, counting on me. It's gotten easier. Like, what is like your leading up to like a day? Like, let's say I have a wedding on Saturday with 180 people, like when do you buy the flowers? When do you start creating these pieces? And I mean, like, like what's like the time frame of how good a flower is? It depends on the flower.
I guess so, yeah.
Some flowers will like shit the bed in 3 days. Some will be fine.
I mean, you have to basically buy these, as close to the day that you can.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, if I have a wedding on Saturday, I'm picking them up on Thursday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, like, on Wednesday, I'll probably do all, like, the hard good prepping. So I'll get all my vases and, all that kind of stuff together, get my buckets filled with water and stuff like that, and then Thursday, I'll go get the flowers. I'll prep them all, get them all into the buckets.
What does that mean? Like trim them all, trim off all the extras like you showed us in the bouquet class?
Yeah. So, take them out of their packages. We take the leaves off. We trim the bottoms of them so they can uptake like fresh water. And so that's prepping. And then Friday, I would be designing all day. So I have an assistant that comes and helps me design.
This is all in your home studio?
Yes, all in my home studio.
Wow.
So she comes over. Her name's Deanna. She comes to help me design pretty much for every wedding. And we just all day just kind of go at it. And, I'll tell her to make one thing and maybe I'll start on something else. And we just like listen to, a podcast or some music or something. And it's pretty fun. It's my favorite part of the process.
Oh, I bet. It's the part that you get to be hands-on and, get creative with.
Definitely. So that's, the day before, and then the day of, getting up really early. The first thing I have to do is go drop the bridal party flowers off because they usually want them for the first look and stuff like that.
So for every wedding, I'm sure you have to take multiple trips of dropping things off. Like what are you driving around in?
I have a Honda HR-V, and that little baby can hold so much stuff. It is insane.
You probably play Tetris.
Oh my God. I am amazing at it. You wouldn't believe the amount of stuff I fit in this car. So if it can, I will not take a second trip if
you can help it.
Right. If I can help it, I am not taking that second trip, especially with Deanna. She has, her car, so she can load some stuff.
Oh yeah. I guess that's a good point too.
So, that helps, but there have been 1 or 2 times I've either had to take like a second trip or like I just go get a U-Haul or something. And
that's
rent
probably
for the day.
Probably makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, for you to build out all these things, like are you building like what's like an average number of like centerpieces you build for a job?
Like the typical wedding, I would say between 15 to 20 centerpieces.
Now, for you to come up with that first design, I'm sure it takes you a little bit longer, but once you have that design, it's kind of just replicating it. Is that right?
A little bit. So one of my favorite things that I do with my clients is I come up with like a customized color palette for them.
Yeah.
So I really try not to, I don't like to do the same design twice ever.
Yeah.
So even if you have the same colors as another person, you're getting a different design.
It's not going to look exactly the same.
But the formula is pretty similar. It depends on what they want for centerpieces. Like there's a bunch of different options, and as I have grown in my years of business, I've gotten a lot more vases and hard goods and different choices.
Yeah.
So it's up to them, and then once they choose, then that's when the creative freedom kind of takes over a little bit more.
Yeah. Whenever you're setting up these weddings, like are you you're the one that has to place all these centerpieces and all that?
Yeah, me and Deanna. So it's been nice having an assistant to help, because before I would just go and do these weddings kind of all on my own. And so with the assistant helping, with Deanna helping, she can do the tables while I'm doing maybe like an on-site installation, whether that be an arch or a hanging installation or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I've had several weddings this past year where I've had to get some extra help with just like the day of setup and stuff like that. So I've had some of my students come and help me,
And like, it takes a while to set up, I'm assuming?
Definitely, yeah. It of course depends on the wedding, but some weddings that have like a lot of on-site installation can take up to like 3 to 4 hours
Jesus.
to do the installing.
How do you deal with venues that want to limit your access time?
I've been having a big problem with this.
I saw that. I saw you post about it, and I feel like that it's such like a ridiculously, just stupid thing to even have to worry about. It's why, like, what's the problem with you getting in there to make things look good about it?
It's honestly, like, I feel like it's a newer problem because, I've been doing this since 2018. I've been doing it longer than that with the other floral business. And we've always been able to go in like whatever time in the morning. We'd always get up like really early to go early to get it done and over with.
Yeah.
Just recently venues have been really strict with their times on when you can get in to access the venue, and it'll be like, you can't come in until like 2 hours before the event.
It's literally not going to be done by that time.
And like grandma's coming in 1 hour before the event. There's like no way that I'm getting this all done in time. So
how do you as a business owner like deal with that? As far as, like communicating your necessary amount of time to execute what you're being paid to do.
Well, I'm getting better at it because I didn't at first. I would just like be like, okay, I'm just going to do it. I guess I have an hour. But I'm definitely getting better with like my boundaries and what I can and can't do.
Yeah.
So, sometimes it'll just be a conversation with the venue to be like, hey, is it possible that I can get in a little bit early? Or like I had a wedding this past year where I was like a guest at the wedding that I was also, designing for. So they were able to get me in a little bit earlier to design. Good. So that's been a big problem, and it isn't for all venues. It's just for some venues, and like there's some venues that won't even like let me use their trash can to throw away some flowers
wild.
or anything. It gets crazy.
Yeah, I would assume that like and whenever I say me, I don't assume that everyone would know things like this, but just having the wife in a wedding. In the wedding industry, it's like you hear about these things that maybe people don't really necessarily like understand, like the behind the scenes things. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm hiring you to provide florals for my flowers, and this is my price point. But then you're like, yeah, but this is like me communicating with all these people and me having to deal with this and communicate with assistants and like everything that goes into it all. And it's like, it's really eye-opening for me to be the partner of someone who has that business in that lane, to be able to like see these things and realize that like, every business has things that are happening behind the scenes that everyone has to deal with. And, we just all have to keep that in our minds.
Right.
Everyone's just out here doing the best they can with it all.
Right. And especially even like when you go to a wedding, you go to a wedding, you have fun and stuff, but like you just don't realize how much work goes into one, or how many people, how much work, how many hours go into just like one day.
Yeah.
Not even a whole day, just like 6 hours.
And how much chaos not being able to get in an hour earlier could cause for someone like you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And again, with doing it, I've gotten better at kind of like planning my days out and knowing like what I need to bring, what I don't need to bring. I've gotten carts and, going to different venues. I know like which venues are going to be a pain in the butt to like go set up and which ones are going to be easy. So
yeah, I'm sure.
It really does just take doing the weddings. And
now, are you responsible for the takedown?
Yes. Yeah.
So you got to go back after you set these up.
Yeah, that honestly, that's the no fun part about it. I do have to go back and break things down. It's gotten easier now that I don't have a full-time job.
Yeah.
So like I can, rest on my weekdays. But yeah, it definitely is interesting going back once everyone's like plastered and
You're setting up at like 10, 11 in the morning, and then you're going back at 10 or 11 at night,
right,
probably.
exactly. So it takes up, your whole day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it usually is just me going back. I don't bring my assistant or anything to go back.
Yeah.
Just because I, can take my time and stuff like that. But it does sometimes, get...
Where do the truckloads of flowers go? I've always been curious about that.
Well, this is a new thing I'm actually writing into my contract because this year I have gotten stuck with so many flowers, and not that that's a bad thing. I love my flowers, but I have to go back to get the hard goods first of all.
Yeah.
And my HRV only, could only fit so much. So there have been times like, again, where like venues, the family doesn't want the flowers. The venue doesn't want the flowers.
But it got to be cleaned out by this time.
I've had to throw thousands of dollars of flowers away in like a dumpster before. And like, it pains me to do that.
Yeah.
Because I just don't have the space in my car to take it.
Yeah.
There's like a nonprofit in Pittsburgh called Sent with Love, that you can sign up and you can have someone from their nonprofit come at the end of your wedding, collect the flowers, and they take them to like nursing homes and stuff like that.
I was going to ask if there's like programs, like renewal programs, things like that.
Yes. And there is, but it's volunteer based. So
yeah, so someone has to go gather them, someone has to drop them off, and if there's no one to do it, then they got to go somewhere else.
And another thing with them is like I can't reach out as a florist. The couple has to reach out to be the ones to donate the flowers.
No way.
Right. So like I can't even be like, oh, there's all these flowers left. Like if you go get them, like.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's definitely the downside because something that's really, important to me or I try to practice through my business is sustainability.
Yeah.
And, the flower industry just like in general is not a sustainable business.
Yeah.
And especially when I have to see, these perfectly good arrangements go to waste.
That are good for another week and a half, 2 weeks that are just getting tossed.
Yeah, it just kills me.
Yeah, that's a shame. I was curious about that because it's like, I see all the funerals, like, you got a room full of beautiful flower arrangements. It's like, what happens to all these?
Right.
And that's usually what it is. I still have a plant upstairs for my grandfather's funeral in 2006. Mm-hmm. Still just going strong.
I bet it's a peace lily.
It's like this weird, I don't know what it is. I'll show you what it is after.
I do it.
It's, so like, talk to me a little bit more about that. So you said you got into, IDing and foraging and everything like that. It's, I know that's a whole different, vein of all this but are you like someone that's getting mushrooms and things like that too?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
So something that I kind of left out of the story was, I was working that office job and I had started Steel City Florals.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the gig for a while. And then out of nowhere, Bidwell, the school that I went to, reached out to me and asked me to interview for a teaching position there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was like, and that was something that I had, again, like that education was something that I
you
really wanted to do. So I was like, this is perfect. Absolutely. So, I did the interview process, everything went really well, and I got the job. And so I left the office world and got back into the plant world full time. And the two big classes that I was teaching at Bidwell when I first started was design and taxonomy. So design, of course, is like landscape design, floral design, all of that. And then taxonomy is the identifying, of plants. So
before you started teaching this, were you pretty savvy?
Yes. Well, because I learned, when I went to Bidwell. So I did have a nice baseline of my plants. But when I started to teach it, I really, really got into it. And now I'm like, that's my thing now. I'm even.
Oh, wow.
Even, since I've left the job, taxonomy is something that's really important to me and something I really love just doing kind of as a hobby.
Yeah, that's cool. I feel like it's a big risk, big reward. If you're someone that's foraging to like eat stuff,
Yes.
I follow like the subreddits, and I'm always like, man, like it would be cool to go forage for mushrooms, but like this one kind of looks like that one,
Right.
And they say that you could dive eat this one.
That's why taxonomy is so important.
I know. I would love to learn more about it. I think that it's definitely cool. I did a little bit with like Boy Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in Boy Scouts for like a decade, so we did a very, very little bit. But
Like
something,
oaks from maples.
yeah,
and-
something like very small like run of the mill things like that. But
Yeah.
what poison ivy looks like, basically.
That's
things
important.
Like that.
We teach our students that for sure.
So, I mean, you getting into this and like being like a forager, is this something like how often do you do that?
It depends on the time of year. So, the springtime's coming, so morel season's going to be coming up
Are
soon.
you like a morel hunter?
Oh, heck yeah. And I have my spot, and I won't tell anyone.
That's awesome. I mean, that's good. I see people out all the time, and like I got guys at work that do it. Are you someone who cooks a lot?
No.
No. What do you do with the mushrooms whenever you?
I will cook the mushrooms when I get them.
Okay.
Like the morels, I'll just saute in butter.
Yeah.
I try to cook. I'm not a good cook at all.
That's all right.
just
A for effort.
something about, I just can't cook. So I just do really love foraging. So even if I foraged and just like gave it away to someone, I would enjoy.
Yeah,
doing
just
that.
finding it.
Right. So, I've done morels, chicken of the woods. That's like a summer, fall mushroom that you can forage. What else have I done? I've as far as foraging, I've done like elderberries. I've foraged.
Have you had any negative experiences foraging?
I don't think so.
That's good.
Again, taxonomy is really important to me. So if
Yeah.
I'm gonna forage something, I'm really, really gonna know what it is.
Yeah, I would hope so. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Now, for you, you do these themed events, themed, well, not really events, but themes that you got another one coming up in February. Now, when did you start doing the themes?
So when I decided to do like holiday specials,
Yeah.
I did one, and like I didn't want to have to try and like fit into like the confines of what everyone wanted for their holiday special.
Yeah.
So I started doing these like florist choice specials.
Yeah.
And that way it gave me like complete freedom over what I'm going to do, the colors that I'm going to choose, stuff like that. And really the themes kind of just came in through like the color palettes. Like, I'd pick this color palette and I'd be like, oh, that reminds me of this, or that reminds me of that. Or maybe it's just something I like, or, something I'm inspired by that kind of
Fits the
Right.
whole vibe of it all.
exactly.
The next one is for Valentine's Day. Which one is that one? Leather and
feathers.
I couldn't remember the second part.
Yep.
And then-
BDSM themed.
And you just like, you come up with these things that like, that it's just like a fun addition to what it is, and people could put in orders with you and you can just provide them. I guess it's a good way to be able to provide like not necessarily the wedding end of it all, but like the day of / event,
Right.
special occasion type void that's there.
Yes, definitely. And again, like it really is when I could shine through, my creative freedom, when I get to do just like these specialized color palettes and stuff where, the people who are signing on or, buying an arrangement know that I have complete reign over over everything. And
Yeah, get what you get.
what's awesome is that people just trust me. Like I've had so many people come back time and time again for my florist choice arrangements because, they like that I do different stuff like
I
that.
can't remember if that was the first time that we got flowers from you, or if it was either that or Thanksgiving. It was one of them.
It was Thanksgiving, I think, because it
yeah.
was very windy out.
Oh yeah, it was. I do remember that now that you say that. It was windy. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know how I even came across. Probably Instagram, I think.
Definitely Instagram, yeah.
It's a small world. Now,
sure.
I'm curious, like, for whenever you're not necessarily focusing on the flowers, like, do you have a garden going right now? Like, are you someone that gardens often now?
Well, not at this time of year.
Well, obviously not this time of year.
My garden's asleep right now, but yeah, I do garden every year. And
Are you vegetables, flowers?
A little of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just got my house back in 2019, and it has a nice little backyard. And so I do a small vegetable garden. I have a annual garden of flowers that I'll plant the flowers every year, and then I have my gardens throughout that are like my perennial gardens, so they'll come back every year.
Yeah. That's good. What are some good flowers, like wildflowers, to plant?
Well, I always suggest planting natives because they help the local ecosystem, and the birds and the plants around, around here are, I would say, like foxglove's really cool, Queen Anne's lace. What
That's
else do I
interesting.
like?
I don't know of any of these.
There's a couple different ones that I've grown that I've done really well with. Autumn sedum, that one blooms a little later in the year. That's kind of nice to use. And I really, when I'm gardening, I really like to think about using flowers that are going to bloom like all through the seasons.
Yeah.
So like things, we'll have our springtime bloomers or, our summer
Rather
and then
than
late
just
fall.
one time and then it's just done.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Very interesting. What do you do for fun besides flowers and plants and foraging?
I have 3 cats, so
Probably takes up your time.
Ghost, and Olive. Yes, I hang out with them a lot, and I mean everything I do really involves like nature of some sort. I really love going on hikes, and stuff like that. I love riding my bike. I mentioned I love watching The Office. That's
your life?
Yeah.
It's pretty taxing to be in the wedding industry.
It really is. Yeah. I mean, you're busy from, Wednesday to Saturday, and then Sunday and Monday are usually, recouping, and then you have like Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, to figure stuff out and buy more
Right.
flowers and just start it all over again.
Yeah.
Now, do you have like any goals on what you want to do? Do you have any ideas of do you want to eventually open a store or anything like that?
Well, it's kind of funny because that's just not something I see in my future. I don't really want a storefront. Mainly because I don't want to have to be like tied down to something every day. It really works out now with my home studio where I can just,
You have some freedom, it seems.
do this and that. Yeah. So like my goals for the business are kind of just like expanding my team, taking on, bigger weddings, maybe hitting some venues that I've never been to, or working with certain vendors that I don't think I've ever done a wedding with your wife. So I think that would be really cool to, be able to do different weddings with some vendors that I follow in the community. This was on my bucket list. So I'm
Really?
checking that off.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So mainly though, I spent the last several years really kind of getting this business solid and like
Running.
set up, right, and really running. So I do want to take some time this year to like do some traveling and just do some things for myself.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to do some of that.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely should. Everyone should have a break.
Right.
I guess it's easier said than done. I mean, like you're like, oh, I could have this opportunity to make some money and have this
Yes.
job and do this great thing for these people, but it's like you got to have some time to be able to enjoy it.
Right. I went through like this year and I booked out specific weeks. Like I'm not going to take weddings, these 2, and then I'll have someone reach out and inquire in
I
those
know.
dates. And I'm like, oh,
That's what she's doing. Yeah, Yins are all the same. It's like, she's like, I'm going to have this weekend off. I'm going to take 2 weeks off here. But then it's like, I guess somewhat like she was like, I'm not going to do a wedding on New Year's Eve. I'm not doing nothing on New Year's Eve. She was like, I got to do this one on New Year's Eve.
You're like, it's just small, might as well.
I mean, I feel like that me and her are in the perfect situation because like she has been such a saint dealing with all this, because whenever I was in our apartment, I would literally kick her out for 3 hours and just, she didn't have nothing to do really. She would just be, sometimes she'd sit in her car and, she was just a saint because I set it up in my living room but now,
Yeah, it's
She's
nice
been
to
a
have
saint.
your little spot here now.
Yeah, so whenever she's, doing weddings on the weekends, I, take care of the dogs, and, we're a good
It's a good
team.
situation.
It's a good team, yeah. It seems like you got a good team situated over there.
Absolutely,
and got
yes.
everything going on. Do you think that there's anything as far as the flowers that I did not touch on? You got any classes coming up that you're teaching?
Yeah, that's one thing. The FIPS classes I wanted to kind of mention too, because that's something newer that I've been doing.
Yeah, and for someone who's went to one, I've had a great time.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a really fun time.
I really do love teaching, so I'm glad that, now that I left Bidwell, I can still continue to do some sort, and I still go back to Bidwell too to do some classes here and there, but FIPS is like my consistent, like, educational.
Yeah, I could like scratch that itch.
Right,
get your fix of teaching people.
Yeah, so it's been really cool. I've been doing it for a little over a year now, and I have some new classes coming up this winter quarter. So I think next week I start doing my bouquet series again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm going to do that. And then I have a couple more classes more towards like early spring.
And how do people find these to sign up for them?
They can go right onto FIPS's website, or you can type in like FIPS floral design classes and all the classes that are available, the times, the prices, all that will come up.
Yeah, that was a really good time. It's a fun date night, It was a fun thing to do. I was the only guy there, and Antoinette was like, people were so surprised that you wanted to do this, because that older lady that was there, she was like, oh my God, like this was your idea to come to these flowers. I was like, I'm all about it. It was fun to do.
Mostly my audience there is women, but every once in a while we'll get like a boyfriend or husband or just like someone to just really, a male that just really likes to do flowers. And I very much encourage them to come back. I encourage you guys to come back again too, because
absolutely,
we're always doing something different. I try to, switch the classes up. I've done some like flower crown classes. I've done some like seasonal color palette classes.
Yeah, I remember that. I think ours was the classic bouquet, and then there was like a moody bouquet.
Right. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I like all that. That's we'll have to figure that out to come down to another class. That was fun.
Definitely.
Now for this seasonal special that you do for Valentine's Day, how do people order for that?
They can either reach out on Instagram, Facebook, or email me at info@steelcityflorals.com to
When do
place
they
an
need to be
order.
in by?
So I haven't exactly started advertising the Valentine's Day special yet. I just kind of put out the theme for it.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to start advertising a month before, so that's going to be really soon, the 14th.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny with Valentine's Day. It's a little bit different from my other holidays because men are typically my target audience with Valentine's Day, and
they wait till the last minute.
Men wait till last minute to do everything. Yeah. So it's really, it's really hard to, I really try to market in advance so that way like the girlfriends will share on their, on their Instagrams.
Drop a little hint.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, that's I've been guilty at that at sometimes, but I've been doing better at planning ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone that's listening out there that needs to get their significant other some flowers, here's a perfect time.
Do it early.
Yeah, you're over a month out. You're able to have some time to put a call in, put an order in, and then you don't even have to worry about it.
And you know what? These arrangements will be way better than like the $5 arrangement you get from Giant Eagle.
And they're not even $5 at Giant Eagle. I mean, you're spending crazy money at Giant Eagle. But it's always good to support a local. That's why I do the podcast. That's why I love it.
Absolutely, yes.
You ready for the gauntlet? Desert Island questions?
Yep, I am.
All right, Desert Island questions. Whenever I give each guest 3 categories to exhaust on a desert island until starve to death and die. First category, 3 movies to watch on a desert island.
I've thought about this, and am I able to forego all 3 movies and just take all the seasons of The Office?
Yeah, I'll give you that. You can have that choice, but you have to pick. You have to pick other ones along with that.
All right. If I'm gonna pick some movies, I really love musicals, so I'm gonna start with Rent.
I love it.
Oh, that's such a good one.
I'm a musical guy. I enjoy them.
Are you? What's your favorite?
Probably realistically, I would have to say Phantom of the Opera.
Okay.
I guess that's not is that a musical?
Yeah.
Would you consider that a musical or an opera? I don't know.
Yeah, I would.
I saw it in 6th grade with our field trip to New York, and we got to sit front row because it was
that.
like on a Tuesday morning, and it fucking blew my mind.
They like only were performing for you guys.
Yeah, it was weird. I swear that we were the only ones in there, but it was just like such a wild thing. But I told Antoinette, like, my brother and his wife go to all sorts of musicals. They go to all sorts of like theater, and I need to go to that more.
Yeah, my nanny took me to a couple different shows growing up at the Benedum down Pittsburgh.
There's so much cool stuff there.
That would be. It was like my favorite thing to do. We would go and get like a fancy dinner, and she'd take me. We went and saw Into the Woods. We saw Wicked. We saw
that's a big one.
Lion King. So
just like a night out.
Yeah, it was so fun. I didn't live in the city, so it was kind of like night on the town.
Yeah,
it was very fun.
Was your grandmother around whenever you started your business?
Yeah, she's still around.
Still kicking?
Yeah, she's still kicking. Nani is still kicking.
I hate asking them questions because you never know. It's like my grandfather, he passed. So it's like it's cool to see. What does your grandmother think of your business since she was
She's so proud of me, and it's so wonderful because she actually owned her own business. She owned a seamstress business. She was an upholsterer for years and years, and everyone in the town would all go get their prom dresses and wedding dresses tailored by her.
That's amazing.
So it was really nice, for her to see me following kind of in her footsteps with a creative business like this.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, yeah. So Rent. The first one. Oh my God, all I can think about are musicals right now.
That's all right. You can pick musicals.
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
That's a great one. I watched that probably 3 or 4 years ago.
That's a good one. Have you ever been to the shadow casting?
No, I would love to go to anything.
So
I assume that's like a adaptation of Rocky Horror. What is that?
So it's basically like
the same thing.
They show the movie on the screen, and then they have actors that like play out the movie in front of the screen,
like Perks of Being a Wallflower type.
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah, it's they're showing like the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I'm 100% into it all.
They do it at the Hollywood Theater in Dormont.
Really?
They do it a lot near Halloween, but I know I think once a month they do it. Just
I have to look into that.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Tim Curry. Who would have thought?
Love it.
I just had a recruiter from like some engineering thing. He just left me a voicemail today that said, "Hi, my name's Tim Curry." And I told my guy at work, I was like, some guy named Tim Curry called me. Because I don't know. We were just talking about him a couple weeks ago because of Home Alone 2.
Right.
And then just expanded on to him being it. And what a wild guy.
Oh, I love Tim Curry. He played in, have you ever heard of Over the Garden Wall?
No.
It's like a little animated series. He played a little character in that too. But
wow, I never heard of that.
Yeah, really love me a Tim Curry.
That's
for
good.
Sure.
Rocky Horror, Rent.
Rocky Horror, Rent. Oh, my last one.
What if it's not a musical?
Okay, not a musical. I'm trying to think of non-musical movies. I really love Perks of Being a Wallflower. Maybe I'd do that.
That I read that book in one sitting.
Yes.
And the movie, I'd love to just
filmed
as
in
much.
Pittsburgh.
Filmed in Pittsburgh. Yeah. Paul Rudd, come on.
Yes.
Come on. The tunnel scene. Come on.
Oh my gosh.
I was definitely like an emo, like the peak. I was like the target emo swoop. Like
right. Yes.
Like I
You
love
went to Octane, yeah.
Perks Being Wallflowers, right up my alley.
Yep. So I'm gonna choose that as my last one.
That's a perfect one. That's good. Do you have a tunnel song?
Oh.
That's a hard question.
Heroes really is like a really good tunnel song.
A good one.
I love David Bowie.
It's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I would accept that answer. That's good.
I'm gonna stick with that. Yeah.
What now? Second question. I usually ask people 3 books. Do you have books?
Yes. Okay, my first book would be a plant identification guide of whatever island I'm on.
What a good book.
So that I would keep myself busy and be able to eat a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good book.
So that's number 1. 2 would be Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer.
Like baskets and everything like that? Like sweetgrass baskets and everything?
So it's based off of kind of something like that. But she is a Native American author. I actually got to see her talk in Pittsburgh last year. But she writes books about basically like having a good relationship with the earth, reciprocity with nature, what you can do for the earth, what it can do for you.
That's a good book.
That kind of stuff.
That's a good book.
So very inspiring, touching book. So definitely that. And then... Last book. Man, I've read a lot of books.
Do you read a lot?
I do. I read a lot of like plant books though. Like I'm
Okay.
reading stuff that it's not
I need to read more.
really exactly interesting.
You don't
to
have
the
like
every-
you don't have like a guilty pleasure type book? Like, are you like a Twilight
Oh
stan?
my god, that's what I was gonna say was Twilight.
Nah.
Yes, I'm obsessed with Twilight.
I loved all the movies. I watched all the movies.
Oh.
I was after the first one, I loved vampires, and I knew that whenever it was coming out, I was like, this is going to be a
You're
little
like,
bit
oh, okay.
little bit different, like sparkly, like whatever. But I was all for it. I'm all
So
for
good.
it. I'm a sucker for a teen drama.
Yes, I love the movies. I love the books. So yeah, I'm gonna give my last one. I'm gonna say Twilight.
That's good. I mean, I'll give you all the books you got, and they're pretty
They're
thick
pretty
books.
hefty. Yeah.
Are the
Yep.
the books are pretty good. They're well done.
Yeah. I mean, I was in 7th grade when I read them.
You loved it. Were you
They
Team
were-
Jacob or
They
Team
were
Edward?
fine specimens. You know what? It's switched every once in a while. I'd be one or the other depending on the movie. But I think ultimately I'm Team Edward.
Yeah,
Got to stick with the
that's fair.
classic.
That's fair. I was Team Jasper all the way.
Oh my gosh.
What was the big one's name? The
Emmett.
Emmett. That's it. That's the Emmett one, or that's the vampire I liked.
What
was
about
Emmett.
the Renesmee doll, the animatronic Renesmee?
Yeah, very weird. That the whole movie was kind of strange. Like, or the whole series was. I watched it all and I enjoyed it, but it was strange.
I want to I want to rewatch it soon. I'll have to.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I bet you. I don't know if I would enjoy it as much, but
I probably think it's more funny now than
yeah, funny, absolutely
Yeah.
hilarious. Like whenever he says, "Hold on, Spider Monkey," like I don't know if I would be able to like just who Edward Call or what's it Robert Pattinson is,
Right.
After seeing him in this whole trajectory after that,
Yeah.
But hey, more power to him for being in a
that's what got him off.
yeah, God, it was a crazy series. Okay, third category, 3 movies.
Movie. I thought I already chose
Or
movies.
yeah, 3 CDs. Sorry.
Oh, 3 CDs. This is a good one. I love music too. Okay, my favorite CD of all time is American Idiot by Green Day.
Oh, okay.
That's just such a classic.
Slappers all
So
day.
good.
Yeah.
All of the songs. So that's the first one. Second one is Anti by Rihanna. That's a
Wow,
good
is that the one with umbrella on it?
I don't.
Or is that the
think
is that the
so.
one? What's the cover? Is that the white and
with
red
the-
one?
Yeah, the white and red one.
That's the one with work on.
Yes,
yeah,
it is. Yeah.
I know.
Umbrella's the one where she's like kind of leaning.
Yeah, that is it. That's the old school one. Hey, she came out with a new song. What'd you think about it?
I didn't even listen to the new song yet.
It was cool, but I mean, like, I feel like if you don't put out music for that long, it better be like
Right.
breathtaking
I didn't want to be disappointed.
yeah, I mean, but she's killing it, got
Of course.
out there killing
Yeah,
it.
Rihanna's always
a mom
gonna be
now,
killing it.
got a killer makeup business,
Right.
can't hate on it.
Exactly.
That's good then.
Oh, and then my third album. Well, I really like Plastic Hearts by Miley Cyrus. That has been so good.
Is that a new one?
Yeah, it's one of her newer ones. I think it is the most recent one she's put out because she has another one coming out very soon.
Okay, that's
But
what I
this
saw.
one,
then, I think.
I feel like really like cemented her in the music industry. Like it just,
I'm a Miley fan.
it's really good.
I'm a Miley fan. Back from Party in the USA to now.
Yes,
Can't beat the
yes.
Jolene cover. It's like
Oh, I know.
Incredible.
She is incredible.
Did you watch the New Year's performance?
I wanted to, so I said I was at the party
Oh,
that
yes.
I got tickets for.
Yeah, you won tickets from me
I
that I
did.
ended up not going to, and you were there.
I did. I had a great time, but I said multiple times during the night, I wish they were playing the Miley Cyrus New Year's Eve.
This is
show.
the first year that we didn't. I don't have cable, so it's the first year that we didn't have like the ball drop on,
Right.
and we were playing Monopoly and chess and stuff, and I didn't even know that was going on until some of the girls were like, "Oh, we got to put this on," and then I was like, "Jesus, like killing it!"
It's- yeah.
Dolly Parton, absolutely
know.
an animal.
Yes.
I think we read that she was like 74.
She
out there
killed
killing it,
Yeah,
killing it.
Absolutely. What even is the ball drop anymore? It
Yeah.
is Miley Cyrus's New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I like it. I was here for it. Okay, you picked 3.
Yep, I did.
Now, what about 3 of your favorite flowers?
Oh, this is tough because it's always changing.
I bet it is.
It literally is changing by the day. But right now, let's just say my 3 favorite flowers right now. I'm really loving those ranunculus, the really bright pink ones that I put in the bouquet for you. So ranunculus is going to be one.
Absolutely.
Let's see here.
You have any flowers that you hate working with?
Lilies.
Lilies.
Like the classic lilies. They're just so...
dull.
Yeah, and just like they have that like funeral smell to them.
Oh,
and
it's
just
terrible.
Yeah, definitely not my favorite. So yeah, not lilies. I really like garden roses. Like I like anything that kind of has like a lot of petals, like that, very full and kind of. So maybe some garden roses, and it's not a flower, but oak trees.
Oh,
I
wow.
love oak trees. So
That's
I'm going to
awesome.
have that as my last one.
That's a good choice. I was going to ask you if you had any experience with bonsais.
Not too much. We did when we went to Phipps we used to go do their like holiday installs, help them with that.
Yeah.
And we also got to tour like the back greenhouse production area, and we got to talk with the guy who did the bonsais at Phipps. He's been there for many years.
Really?
Is like a total expert in them. So
Oh, wow. He's still there?
Yeah, I think so. When the last time I toured Phipps, when I was at Bidwell, he was still there.
I'm going to have to look him up.
But yeah,
I'm kind of fascinated by him.
They're very cool. Definitely not something I could see myself doing.
We went to the home show and they had like a booth, bonsai booth, and they have like a bonsai club that you could sign up for.
Oh, there's clubs for everything, yeah.
And they're just so cool.
Yes.
Just the one dude was like, it's like a 80-year-old tree, and it's just like, wow.
And I think in the spring, Phipps every year will put their bonsais out on display, and some of them are like, hundreds of years old. They're just like, they're the coolest things.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's those are good choices then.
Yeah.
Third to last question is, man, it's been a month. Third to last question is the death row meal.
Oh, man.
So, death row meal, get to pick one last meal before you're put to death. What would it be? Appetizer, main course, and a dessert.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know I'd get all that.
Get everything.
Appetizer. Crab rangoon.
Amazing. That's a staple in our house.
Yes. Yeah, you can't go without them. Entree. The first thing I thought of when you said it, I didn't know I was going to get a dessert, was breakfast for dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Like a big old.
Yeah, I love it.
So maybe that. Or I really like Italian too. So maybe something Italian. And then dessert would be like a tiramisu.
Tiramisu. That's perfect.
That's good.
That's a good one. Tiramisu got a good one. That's a good choice. Okay. Second to last question is, the snack. If you're going on a road trip, see, it's been so long since I did this. If you're going on a road trip, you're going into a gas station, you get to pick out a snack. What's your go-to?
I really love Swedish fish.
Really?
Yeah, that's my go-to.
Such a wild choice.
Really?
It's just not chosen on here a lot.
Yeah.
I used to love them so much whenever I was younger, but like I have to be in the mood for them now. Like that
right.
The flavor of them.
Understood.
But whenever I was younger, I would rip through bags of them.
Yeah, I love any sort of like gummy candy like that.
Okay.
The like Nerds clusters, love those.
Yeah, see, that's probably like my last choice is like a gummy. I'm like a chocolate. I'm like I'll use like if there's a choice and it's only like the mainstream stuff, I'll go for like a Kit Kat maybe, something like that. But if there's like the bougie stuff, I'm a Ceres. Like I'll get a Ceres.
I love Ceres.
Pretzels or like things like that. I like all that.
Understood. I'm definitely a chocolate lover. I love Reese's. Anything that has peanut butter in it.
Yeah, that's good stuff too.
Yeah,
it's good. I'm not picky. I'm good.
Definitely
with
not. Yeah,
I'm good with whatever.
You can go with whatever.
Okay, if you have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh my goodness, this one's tough.
Yeah.
Alive or dead? Let me think about this for a second.
Is there any figures in like the floral world that you're just like, wow?
You know what? Not really. I mean, there's a couple people that I like, that I'll follow that I really like, but no one that's like, oh my God, I really.
There's not like a Guy Fieri of the floral world.
Not really. There's a couple people. Yeah, no one that's a Guy Fieri of the floral world.
That's what's missing.
Definitely.
The guy who sells the flowers down in the strip, he needs to just like start. I buy him off him all the time. He just needs to get the flame shirt, bleached hair. He could be him.
He would probably do really well on TikTok.
Yeah. Oh my God, he would. That's a good idea. Are you on TikTok?
Oh yeah, I am.
Are you a TikTok person?
I like watching them, and I try to, I have a TikTok for Steel City Florals. I try to make some every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I just really enjoy watching TikTok, to be honest.
Yeah. Is social media like for you? You have a medium that like is kind of designed for social media. Like it's beautiful flowers as a photo. Is it easy for you to keep up with that and like kind of participate in it all?
It wasn't at first, just because I was only doing like 1 or 2 weddings a year.
Yeah. So
but now that I have like
consistent content.
Exactly. And I'll even, with the weddings that I've done this year, I'll even like hold off posting certain things so I have content through, my downtime.
Yeah.
But
gotta play that game.
Yeah, it hasn't been as hard. And honestly, if like things get really boring, I could just go down to the flower market and
throw something together.
Yeah, do something fun just for the heck of it.
That's good.
Yeah. Man, I'm having a hard time with this conversation situation. Let's see. Who do I really like? Well, the first thing that popped into my head is just to have a conversation with my aunt again that passed away.
And that's an understandable thing. And like, I feel like that, that's an assumed answer.
Right.
But if it's not someone that you have, personal ties to.
Yeah. It's tough. Honestly, probably someone that's just like really successful in their field. Just someone that had, maybe a Rihanna.
Yeah. That would be fantastic.
Let's do Rihanna.
That would be fantastic. I feel like she would be.
If you're listening, hello.
Rihanna, if you're listening, I would, I'm honored. First of all, I'm honored.
And second of all, let's meet up for lunch.
Yeah, hey, me too. But Rihanna would be a perfect answer because I feel like she would be fun.
Yes.
I feel like that she would be insightful, and I feel like that she would not try to like big dick you, where she's like, I feel like she would be someone who would be open to talking to just someone random.
And giving advice and just like lifting
your spirits. Like, go out there and get it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly it. What a good answer. That's a fantastic answer. Now, please take a second and tell everyone where they could find your work, how they could contact you, and, all that jazz.
All right. So I'm all over the internet. So I have my website, stillcityflorals.com. You can also see all of my work on Instagram, Facebook. I have my TikTok that I try to, post videos every once in a while. Yeah, that's basically the main ways that you can reach out to me. And email's usually best, info@stillcityflorals.com.
Simple as that. If you are looking for some flowers for your special day, reach over to Steel City Florals. If you are looking for good episodes of podcasts to listen to, you found them. I appreciate everyone listening. As usual, call you right back.